Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Geek Talk, a podcast where we are going to talk about all things geek.
We are Teg and Odi, and this is a space for us to share our passion about gaming and all things geek. We hope you find a safe space here to share your thoughts, experiences, and to just have some fun with us.
Yeah, so pretty much just go ahead and grab a coffee, a tea, some juice, whatever you're into. Just sit back, relax, and for 30 minutes to an hour, just enjoy the topics. So, yeah, speaking of that, we made a little list we're going to go through. The formats, it's essentially me and Tag. So I'm Odi, he's Tag. We're just going to kind of talk about things that interest us and that we find awesome about geek stuff. And then we just figured we'll put it on the internet as well, because why not?
Yeah, exactly. We want to create a space for all kinds of people where we can just share our thoughts, and we want to focus mostly on the positive side of gaming and the impact it had on our lives and probably on your lives as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think that's a huge part of it because people some people maybe see gaming as just a hobby or an activity, but for me at least, and that's a big part why I really liked the idea of doing this podcast is that it was a way of life, as cringe as that might sound if you just take it out of
Ooh.
context, but it has such a big impact, and this is why that's the first topic of the first episode. What does gaming mean to people? So why do people game, and how do people game, and how that differs maybe from person to person.
Yeah, especially even for me and Odi, it actually got us together and brought us closer. We've been friends for over
Yeah.
a decade at this point, I think.
Well, we've known each other since fifth grade, so
Yeah.
that's yeah. Math was never the the forte of either of us.
Yep, yep. Ironically, we like games and it's all about numbers and stuff, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's just say around 15 years or maybe more than that.
Yeah, I guess roughly around 15 years. We are in our late 20s at the
Hmm.
moment.
Yeah, we're close to being 30, but we still have a ways to go, a short
we
ways to go, but
we want to talk about positive stuff, not about
and
turning
here we
30.
are. We're old and decrepit.
Oh Jesus. Okay, okay, okay. Let's refocus for a second,
Yep.
and yeah, as already said, the first topic is about what makes gaming great as a whole.
Mm,
Uh, I think you should start with your first experiences, and I
sure.
will share mine after.
And just so that you know, in case you're listening to us on YouTube and maybe also as such watching there, the footage that you're seeing is footage that we've taken from across the web, and we're crediting people just because both of us have full-time jobs, and then we're doing this kind of a hobby on the weekends. We don't really have the time to do the footage ourselves as well, in addition to editing and all of that. So, whatever you're looking at right now, because we don't know yet what you're looking at, we're going to figure that out later.
We have
Uh,
no experience in editing, so we have no idea what's gonna happen.
exactly. And whatever you're looking at now, it's we've surely credited it, and that's just kind of something for you to have in the background if you want to watch as well and not just listen. And when we're gonna touch on games, we're also gonna be putting footage of those in there. So yeah, I got into gaming, when I was about 4 years old, if I'm not mistaken, and I still remember my mother and my father actually playing on the computer we had at home, and it was kind of a privilege really to have the computer at home because this was the 90s, right? And so we're both we're not native English speakers, and we're not from a country which speaks English officially, so it was not common to have a computer, especially one that could play games. And they had met playing Dune at work, in fact. And I remember them playing some games while I was growing up, and especially this World War II game called Hidden and Dangerous. And I still remember to this day me at 4 or 5 years old just hunting soldiers in World War II in this tactical shooter, which I didn't really know how to play, as you might infer, right? I was 4 years old, couldn't speak English, but I just saw the pew pew guns, and I was like, yeah.
Flashiness.
Yeah, and it was a, tag. It was a combination of hunting enemies in the shooter and then playing things like Disney Hercules and Tarzan. So
Oh, those were classics. Come on.
I mean, they totally were. And I still remember things like I played Disney Hercules as well on the PC, and I still remember that the D key on the keyboard, that's how you would charge up the punch
Hmm.
to break the rocks. So yeah, for me, those were the three games that I remember at least. And there was also like a motorcycle racing game in there, which I don't remember precisely, but those were the three big ones for me. How about for you?
Well, I have to say I started a bit later than you. We didn't have a PC
Mhm.
growing up. My first ever PC, I guess it was around the fifth grade when I met you, and we used to play World of Warcraft
Mhm.
on private servers. I
As
remember
one
it was
does when they
a
don't have money.
yeah, exactly. The situation, especially on our side of the planet, was not very easy. So PCs were quite expensive, so were game consoles.
Mhm.
But going back a bit, my first experience with gaming was with my uncle and separately with my godfather. They both had some sort of game console. I know that my godfather had some sort of Nintendo, but back
Mhm.
then, to imagine, everything was a Nintendo, at least here. So if it had the the cassettes, it was a Nintendo. Didn't matter if it was a totally different band. I don't even remember what it was, but if it had a cassette, it was a Nintendo. Didn't matter what it was.
Yeah.
So I used to play when I went over on the cassettes, like some Olympic games, and I remember he had some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Oh,
game
classics, classics.
on that console, which I suspect is a Nintendo, but to this day I don't remember. And separately, a few years after that, my uncle who had a PlayStation One. So I started my gaming career, let's say, a bit later, but I was fascinated instantly. He had one of those race car games, like the
Hmm.
VCR or however it's called. He was really passionate about it. So whenever I went over, I would just stare at the old CRT TV and watch him play. Uh, so that's how I also began, and indeed, it
Yeah.
really left a mark. Given that so many years later, we still enjoy and we spend our time gaming.
Oh, for sure. And I don't think I actually knew that about you, that you also started kind of watching people do it. And I think with a hobby like gaming, which is so interactive, it matters so much that you see other people doing it first. It's like, oh, look, that person's enjoying themselves doing this thing. Maybe it is for me too. And I think that for some people that don't really even have that drive to get into gaming, or maybe view it as maybe a stranger hobby, they perhaps never had that experience of seeing someone truly enjoy themselves while playing games. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It could be a bit daunting in the beginning, I think, like especially gaming that's such a huge industry at the moment, and there are so many different type of games. But that's also the good thing, or the good side of things, because that means that you can find something for everybody. If you're a laid back gamer or if you're a hardcore gamer, it doesn't matter. You will find something for you. But yes, the reason why I got into World of Warcraft, for
Hmm.
example, is my cousin. He was playing it on retail back in the days, which was a pretty big thing where we live. Like not everybody could afford a
Oh yeah,
subscription and to buy the games as well.
right. Because you would also have to pay the subscription in dollars, and we didn't use dollars, and the exchange
Yeah,
rate was not good.
exactly, exactly. And for example, as I was a small kid, my parents couldn't afford just to throw away, let's say, money on a monthly subscription for a game. Even to this day, for my parents, the concept of gaming is still a pretty wild notion,
Yeah,
and
to
it's a
some.
weird pastime.
Yeah, so I mean, what we can share as much as like we're from the Balkans, right? So
Yeah.
that's I mean, back then a subscription like $15 could have been your groceries for a week, right? And then maybe maybe I'm exaggerating, but it was still a significant enough sum of money that many parents would just look at it like, a total waste to put that into a video game.
Yes, as you can imagine, all the stereotypical Balkan things, they're stereotypical for a reason sometimes. So,
Yeah,
like, oh, gaming, computer, what? And
if
that is how we also became like the tech guys in our families. Because, oh, you play on the computer, you must be very good at doing computer stuff, aren't
oh,
you?
exactly. I think this is also like a universal thing around the globe. If you're at the computer, you must know how to fix TVs as well, right? And make the internet work.
Yes,
Obviously.
why? Why is the internet not working? I don't know, Karen. What could it be? Yeah, I also started uh, working in customer service, so you might notice some elements of that
I
in
mean,
my.
it's also, there's lots of American pop culture affected us, and I think that is part of this topic because gaming, right? Gaming is a Western thing, which got here after the 90s. And
Yeah,
then I think it was still, we grew up, the two of us, we grew up in a time where gaming was not a good hobby to have, right? So I think the topic is especially interesting here, and I'm sure that it still applies to the US or the UK or wherever you might be listening from. That gaming didn't used to be cool until I would say maybe even after 2010. Like it really took a long time for gaming to become a mainstream activity.
exactly. I think around the 2010s, yes, it started to evolve into something bigger. But definitely, even to this day, there is a little bit of stigma on gaming. Definitely not as bad as it
Hmm.
used to be, but for people who are a bit more old school, maybe
Mhm.
they still view it as a waste of time. But that's one of the reasons why we also wanted to start this podcast to share our experiences with other people who might have also felt the same. And you're
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
alone. Doesn't matter what part of the globe you are; these
Oh,
experiences are possibly universal.
absolutely. And if you're listening to this because you already love gaming and you want to share that hobby, hey, welcome. We're here for it. If you're someone who really likes gaming but maybe you don't really want to make that public because maybe people won't really accept you for it, we get it because we went through that ourselves. I would just say pursue what makes you happy and try to not really care that much what the haters say. And if you love something, you love something. I mean, even there are bad games, are there, right? And when I say bad, I mean maybe they have universally low scores, or maybe they had a lot of negative reviews. If you still like those games, hey, more power to you. It's your money, it's your time. You choose how to spend your free time and have fun. I think I like games that would be seen as bad. And I think we all do, right?
Yeah, like guilty pleasures. It's
Exactly.
totally normal.
Exactly. And speaking of going back to World of Warcraft, since you mentioned that, yeah. So the two of us, we played some WoW back in the day because everyone did. So
Wrath of the Lich King.
that man, Wrath of the Lich King, that was the best. But I think that's a different episode of the podcast, just talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
WoW.
yeah.
But Alliance for Life, right? Guys, come on, back me up.
Oh come on, are you for real? You're pulling that now. Of course, it's for the horde all day, every day.
Okay, we'll have to fight about that some other time. But in the end, I did play both sides anyway. So, but
Yes, yes, but we both know that your heart is still with the Alliance, you
it
little
is
scum.
Night Elves. That was my jam always. Um,
Yeah, you always liked elves. Doesn't matter what type of medium they come from.
I did indeed, and that extended to Warcraft and Lord of the Rings. I mean, Legolas played a huge role in me liking elves. Let's be real. And
Yeah, yeah, it definitely waked to something in everybody.
yeah, exactly. um, but yes, I think Speaking of, I think World of Warcraft was an entryway for many people to gaming. At least everyone that's around our age and older, they maybe started being more serious about gaming with World of Warcraft, with Diablo, with StarCraft and Warcraft. So really, with Blizzard, just if you look at it overall.
Oh yeah, like the golden age of Blizzard, absolutely, because it was a commitment. I mean, it still is, but back then it was an actual commitment. Pay monthly,
Mm.
play, grind, do the raids and everything. So yeah, that's when you become serious about it.
For sure. And I mean, I think that financial commitment, as you say, knowing that I'm actually paying month to month to be doing something, well, then I really should be doing it. I was having this conversation with a friend of ours, who we lovingly call Chaos. Hey, dude, if you're listening. Uh, so he we were talking about Assassin's Creed, Ragnarok or Valhalla. What was it called? I always forget.
Valhalla, Valhalla.
Valhalla. There we go. Anyway, that's another topic, Assassin's Creed. But
Oh Jesus,
let's
I
not
know,
open
I
that
know.
yet.
That's a
uh,
whole can of worms.
Indeed, it is. And he when we were talking about this, about the nature of open worlds nowadays, he was saying that he does want games to be as open as possible and as big as possible because hey, I'm spending $60 on this, and nowadays maybe I'm spending $70 on this. So I want the game to be big, so I feel that there's lots of value in there. My view on that is that if a game is 10 hours long, but it's just awesome, amazing quality 10 hours, I'm fine with paying $60. I just want a great experience. How about you?
I actually agree with you as well because, especially with Assassin's Creed, the newer ones, I
Hmm.
also think that they're full of busy work, and you can have your opinion about it. Of course, some people like it as our friend. Some people don't like it as much. The thing is that I also prefer a game. It doesn't matter if I pay $60, $70, as long as that game is good and I can see that the developers put in the effort and I'm enjoying it, I will feel fulfilled at the end of the day. But if it's a game, I attempted to play Valhalla, I think two or
Hmm.
three times. But there's so much
Bloat.
in that game, so much game in the game, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
I
and
know.
it sometimes you don't have time for commitment like that, especially you have a job or you have family or friends, so on, trying to balance everything. It can be tough, so sometimes it's good to have also like an amazing experience that's 10 hours long, and then at the end you turn off the game, the credits roll and everything, and you feel that inside. That's the best.
That's the best, feeling dead inside.
Yeah, because it's so life changing that at the end you feel empty. I mean, who doesn't like that feeling? And then you just
I com-
move on with your life.
I completely agree. And guys, what Tech just said, that it's life changing. This is how the two of us view games. They're not just a piece of media for us. Some people view books that way, or movies, or I don't know, poetry, opera, whatever you're into besides gaming. Because if you're not into gaming and you're here, that's kind of strange. But maybe you want to get into gaming. So hey, maybe we're the light at the end of the tunnel.
Or
Hopefully,
maybe you just like our crisp voices.
exactly. We
Whatever
did
floats your boat.
we did pay like $70 for a microphone. So hey, I
That's a lot of money around here, okay?
just short side note. I had a colleague once at work who paid $2,000 for his microphone. So put that into perspective. Yeah, but going back on track. So that's the thing we made this podcast too, because gaming really can be life changing in my view as well, and that can mean multiple things really. Maybe it's just a really cool hobby you have during a dark time in your life. Maybe it's a story which helps you grow as a person. I mean, I think of The Last of Us, and I think of The Witcher, and then I think, Tech, help me out here. What's the third game with broody dark guy with kid following him? God of War, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. And he, these stories, they're I mean, they're truly believable. You can see that happening in real life. And it's such, to me, it kind of even taught me a bit maybe about the idea of being like a father in those situations. We're
Yeah,
not,
like what would you do?
sorry?
What would you do in that situation?
Exactly. Gaming can make you ask questions, life questions, important questions, which you should be considering. Neither of us are parents, um, but it's really something to think about via this medium. Or maybe you play, maybe you play strategy games. That's a great way to help you evolve your strategic thinking, your planning, your way of organizing. With FPS, and there have been multiple studies done at this point which have proven that action games can improve your reflexes and reaction times. And
Yeah, and as you said, the best part about gaming, I think, it's compared to other mediums like movies, TV series, anime, or books. While you play a game, you are the
yeah,
protagonist. You do not just witness the protagonist. You are there. And I know that it might sound cringe for some people. Well, I am a bit cringe sometimes, but I
sometimes,
only sometimes.
only
But
sometimes.
I cringe, so I exist. uh, but yeah, you you do put yourself in the shoes of the character, especially if it's a narrative focused story, like you said. And my first example that came to mind was also The Last of Us.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
you are Joel, and you're put, especially at the end of the game, in a pretty bad situation. I mean, you do not make the choice, but
Yeah.
at the end of the game, I was agreeing with Joel.
I mean, obviously, so the Last of Us is not an RPG, so you're not making choices. You're just going through a preset story. And then just to not spoil it in case we have listeners that haven't played it yet, there is indeed the end of the Last of Us has a controversial way of ending, has a controversial choice from the protagonist of the game, Joel. And I
Hmm.
agree with you, Tag, that I don't like what Joel did, but I totally understand why he did it, because the narrative is made in such a way that you as the player can really feel that the way Joel is feeling as a father figure towards Ellie. And then it makes sense why it ends how it ends. And again, we go back to, it makes you ask questions. What would you do? Do you agree with this? Who are you as a person? And then all of that stems from a video game, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, all of these questions, like what would you do in that situation? Could you do what Joel did, or would you do
Yeah.
it differently? So it's all these questions that really make you wonder if gaming is just gaming, just a hobby. It can be much more, but everybody experiences things differently, and that's absolutely fine. At the end of the day, we want to have this talk because at the end we thought about this podcast as a talk between friends because we also want to
Hmm.
spend more time together.
Sure.
So uh if you have any opinion, please leave them in the comments. We would be very, very happy to hear what you think about the subject, and also share how you got into gaming. We would love to hear that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, guys, let's start the conversation around this. And then, speaking of, let's get back on track a bit. So, what makes people get into gaming? What makes gaming great? And I think we covered that a bit already. Um, I think another awesome aspect is just the social aspect of it. Maybe you don't particularly love video games as the two of us do. You don't really live through video games, but they're just something to do with friends. Just as if you were to get together and play a board game. You don't play a board game, you play a video game. And I think that's perhaps more applicable if you grew up kind of at the same time as we did, and you played StarCraft or Warcraft or Unreal Tournament in local LAN, right?
Oh yeah, or Counter Strike.
Counter Strike. There you go. And I think those are types of games which you don't. I mean, you make a connection to them, but it's a different connection, and a connection to a game like, again, let's say The Last of Us, is through a shared experience with other people that have gone through that story. Whereas with something like Counter Strike, you have a shared experience with people by just enjoying the game and the activity together. You don't specifically maybe tie yourself to Counter Strike, but to the memories you form with your friends through Counter Strike, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
this
and being better than them.
of hey, you speaking of, I actually just remembered. Do you remember that time? Oh, I must have been like 10 years ago at this point or something. I'm not even sure, but we were all together at your place,
Hmm.
and we played Warcraft 3. We
Oh yeah,
played
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and we so we set up some computers and some laptops around there, and it was an apartment block, right, room, and we just put a lot of desks all around. There was computers and monitors, and
That
there
was
was
absolutely crazy.
absolutely. I mean, you if you needed to go to the bathroom, GG, you could not. I mean, you were stuck in that chair for the next hour or so.
Yep, or you would just have to become a gymnast all of a sudden and just vault over 5 tables, 2 PCs, and some.
Yep,
I think we had some snacks and stuff as well, just
we
laying
did.
everywhere.
We did, and I remember that we were like 5 people, so then we couldn't have equal teams, so it was a 3v2. And I think out of all of us, everyone or all of us that were there, I had played the most Warcraft, and we
Yeah, yeah.
we just did the 2v3, and I beat you scrubs because I still remember.
Jesus, that was an absolute massacre. Like it wasn't even a question, not even like a glimmer of hope for the rest of us.
The most amusing part of that is I remember that after we finished, I was just like, okay, let's go round two, and everyone was like, nah, man, we're
Let's
done.
play something else, you know.
Let's just do something fun, please. And I think speaking of that, seeing that makes me realize. Sadly, I think some people go out of gaming, get out of gaming because they might have an initially bad experience or they're playing a competitive game and they keep losing. But they don't realize that gaming is so wide. I mean, Warcraft is gaming, but The Sims is gaming. I would,
Yeah,
I would
Animal
not.
Crossing, or
Mm-hmm.
you can have a game for basically everybody. But
Yeah,
yeah, I know what you mean, Odi, and I think you're right, because if you start your gaming journey with a highly competitive one, oof, buddy,
it,
that could be rough.
it's the same as if you were to, even if you are an experienced gamer. I mean, the two of us have been playing video games for what now, 20 years, more than 20 years. And obviously, I mean, when you're playing games when you're 5 years old, you're not going to become a pro at anything. But it's still you're still doing it, and you're still building up that level of being accustomed to certain practices. And when new games launch, Tag and I often talk about, hey, they did this thing from that game again. And you start seeing the patterns because
Hmm.
there's only so much that you can innovate with after a point. I mean, I think we're at the point with gaming now where almost everything's been done, and then the challenge for developers nowadays is how do I make the same thing but cooler, or how do I combine existing things to make something new that way.
Yeah, remixing the stuff, remixing the formula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my point there was what? Oh, right. Even if you have a lot of experience with gaming, if you, let's say, you were to jump into a super competitive game with a PvP game with like a small
League of
community.
Legends.
I mean, League of Legends has a big community still, so even if you're a scrub, you're still gonna be able to play League of Legends fairly fine because there's a lot of people that are scrubs at League of Legends. No shade, no shade, no shade. Um,
Absolutely none.
but for example, I played this medieval first-person slasher PvP game called Mordhau. If there are any chivalry vets out there, well, if you're listening, you already know what Mordhau is. But essentially, just look it up: chivalry or Mordhau. It's a German word. And Mordhau has a very small community nowadays, and that community is made of seasoned vets that have been there for years, and they're playing for 8 hours a day or something. And even if you have 20 years of gaming experience, you're going to jump into that and you're going to be wrecked, right? Because you're not going to have a chance against someone who's doing that for 8 hours a day, year on year after year. And I think that's sadly how some games lose even their chance of getting new people um,
Invested.
invested, exactly, because that initial experience can be really brutal. And my message, perhaps, to you, dear listener, would be just that if you think a game is for you, give it a real chance. Try for a week. If it's not, hey, it's not. But you could be missing out on an experience. and I've just done that with Deep Rock Galactic. I think I've told you. I've invited you as well, Tech, to play, right? Deep Rock
Yep, yep.
Galactic. And in the end, I was only able to convince, to corrupt one of our friends to do so, and he, in the meantime, he kind of let it go. But I had a decision to make there. Because I had no more friends to play with. I was thinking, that it is what it is. And I wanted to quit. But instead, I went to Discord and I just joined the official Deep Rock Galactic server, and I played with random people. And you know what? That can be really fun, and you can make new friends this way. You can meet cool people this way, and it's a bit scary, maybe, at first to just talk to random people from across the world. But let me tell you, in about 2 dozen hours of just doing that, I must have met like one angry, annoying person, and that was it. Everyone else was just trying to have fun.
And that's the beauty of gaming. Most of the cases, people want to have fun and want to release some of the stress that you build up during your day. Maybe your job is not that good or you're having troubles. You just boot up a game that you really enjoy, kick back your feet and relax. It doesn't have to be always about grinding and
Hmm.
competitiveness and so on. Sometimes you just want to relax. I've recently discovered the Persona series.
Hmm.
I've talked with Audi about this, and boy, oh boy, how much I love it. So far, it's been amazing. And I started with the game that I'm actually playing right now. It's Persona 5 Royal.
Hmm.
It's so good. And Audi can vouch for this.
Oh yeah,
I never liked turn-based games.
yeah.
That's was never my jam, but this one for some reason just is different where it feels special to me. Maybe because I'm a partly closeted weeb and it's very anime inspired, which I love. The art style is amazing. And this is the thing about gaming. Even if you are into it at the moment and you have a genre that you didn't like, you might find a hidden gem and there
Hmm.
you go. You get hooked.
Oh, absolutely true. That was me. I just despised first person games. So that was just a criterion for me. Didn't matter what the game was. I felt like I just couldn't play first person games. And I think there are multiple reasons for this. For one, I kind of never truly liked just the perspective of seeing just hands, I suppose. But when I play games, and this goes back to what we're talking about near the beginning, I do want to feel very immersed into that world, to feel like I'm not myself, but someone who makes sense in that world and someone who belongs and whose place is there in the world. And, that's actually a very good segue into the reason that people play games is for escapism, but let's tackle that in a second. And some people, or maybe perhaps many people, will tell you, but that's what first person perspective is. That's when you're truly playing, when you're immersed into the world. But I would counter and say, yeah, but I don't think I belong in that world. So I want to see the character in that world. So I just couldn't get into first person. But Kingdom Come Deliverance totally changed that for me. Although that game kind of hybridized the perspectives, and first of all you could see your feet, and I think this is something we share, Tag, right? Like, if it's a first person game and you look down, you need to have a body and legs. Developers, please listen to us, please.
Yeah, I don't want to be just a floating bubble.
Yeah, it's just, even I think even Cyberpunk, does Cyberpunk have a body when you look down? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
cool, cool. uh, and then, yeah, but in Kingdom Come you also saw your character during dialogue, and there's a very well put together armor system, so that helped ease me into that. And just as Tag was saying, you can surprise yourself by finding you really enjoy a genre you never thought you would. And let's segue into the previous point, escapism. Why people play games for escapism. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I think that is true. And it is not just for gaming.
Hmm.
It's something that people do with all. lot of different activities.
Hmm.
Again, going back to watching movies, some reading books, sometimes even just doing activities that take your mind off of your day-to-day life.
Hmm.
Because sometimes you just need to disconnect, and gaming is very good at doing that. Because if you get yourself in like a very cozy spot,
Hmm.
you dim your lights a bit in the room, and you just get into a game and you immerse yourself. It can be an amazing experience because for a couple of hours you do not have to pay the bills or uh, have to go to work in the morning or do maybe some activities that you do not want, having to see relatives. Oh God, no.
Oh, the worst of give me work instead, right?
Exactly, like that's the thing. You can just be relaxed and you enjoy the ride. You are somebody else that has different
Yeah.
problems, I guess, that they have to deal with. But
You know,
in gaming, it's broader. It's not like, oh, I have to pay my taxes. Oh gosh. It's, oh, I have to save the world or something like that. It's
yes,
larger than life
exactly.
stuff.
Exactly. And with gaming, that you will find the solution, because in life sometimes you find the solution, sometimes you don't, sometimes you do, but it's not when you expect it. But with games, I think really you're really hitting the nail on the head there, Tag, that there's first of all, it's a much more important problem and more interesting problem. There's an adventure to be had. It's intriguing. It's not, oh no, I have to do the dishes. um
Oh no, the dishes.
the dishes. But it's, I think of Dragon Age Origins when I talk about this right now, and Dragon Age Origins, for anyone who hasn't played it, well, it's dated by now because it's from 2009, but I think it still holds up. But that's my favorite game ever, so I'm gonna be biased again, biased in its favor. But yeah, basically there, if you're not familiar with the game, you are a Grey Warden. So let's say you're like this very special knight that is the only part of this order that can stop like a very big dragon from ending the world. That's like a very, very summarized version of it. And the problem is, well, oh no, the big dragon is going to end the world. How are we going to stop that? But you do, probably. You know that you're most likely going to be able to. Very few games actually end with a bad ending, unless it's an RPG and you messed it up. But it's, yeah, it's that feeling of there's a big problem, it's an interesting problem, and you can most likely solve it. And I think that's a big reason of why people enjoy games.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's the idea of being larger than what you are maybe at the moment and
Hmm.
being able to solve intricate problems and going on an adventure. I mean, you are Captain Shepard if you play Mass Effect.
Commander,
And
but
you,
yes.
sorry, Commander. I haven't played it in a very long time.
I mean, me neither.
But yeah, Commander Shepard. Or you are Geralt and you save the day. And
That's
you
just.
see these amazing places that you would not feasibly see in real life.
And I think that's a great example to it, Geralt, because what really made me fall in love with The Witcher, and I played even the first one, so I played The Witcher one before The Witcher two even was launched, and the way CD Red made Geralt to not be your stereotypical hero that saves the day. He is just a guy going through life, and he just happens to have the profession of a witcher, a monster hunter. It's a more
Hmm.
interesting profession that you would have in your regular life, or also way more dangerous. I mean, the life expectancy of a witcher really shouldn't be too high in real life, should it? But you're not the big hero that saves the day. You're just some guy going through life, and he finds himself thrown into extraordinary situations. And I think why many of us love The Witcher 3 especially, but I think the entire series deserves lots of credit for it, is that it's the story is more believable, more relatable. Because,
Hmm.
if you're willing to stretch your imagination, it is possible that Geralt's story could be real. Of course, if we had magic and all of that. and it's just a very very well told story, and a character that makes sense for the story, and it's another way to enjoy gaming. If you don't like, the Marvel type stories, the hero who saves the day, there's still something for you right there, The Witcher, and or Prototype. I mean, that's
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. I I forgot of that game for a second, but yeah, you were technically the bad guy there, so you have something for everybody.
yeah, I would say Alex Mercer is more so of an anti-hero, perhaps until more towards the end of the game. What you do?
Definitely not the hero.
Well, no, he's definitely not. No, no, he's definitely not the hero. I mean, even if you look at something like Infamous Second Son, um, is Cole, was it? Is Cole the protagonist in Infamous Second Son?
No, Cole was the protagonist of the original series.
Dalton? No, it's not Dalton, is it? No, I don't know.
No, I forgot his name too, but I think I know what you mean.
Well, whatever his name is, he starts off as kind of a delinquent, really, and he
Yeah, Delsin.
Dels. Okay, there we go. And yeah, Delsin Rowe. Yeah, details important. Can move on. And or what was it? What was I even gonna say? Do you know what happens in my brain sometimes? Because I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what happens in mine, so how could I know about yours?
That's a fair point. It's a fair
Yeah,
point.
yeah, we were talking about like being not necessarily the hero of the story, but
Mm,
the anti-hero or
yeah,
the
there you
villain.
go. So Delsin's not a hero, but compared to what goes on in the story, he's still the good guy. Well, he can be the good guy because there are moral choices to be done in Infamous, but you can be the good guy if you so choose.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about these type of games that you can actually make choices, like
Mm-hmm.
how it's in Mass Effect or in Infamous. You make choices that affect the story to a degree. Of course, it's not going to be something that's totally going to change how you
Mm-hmm.
play the game, but it still gives you a bit of agency, or I guess the illusion of agency, and it
Sometimes.
makes the experience more personal.
Sometimes it can totally be illusion. Like some people really critique Telltale games for this reason that,
Yeah, exactly.
and they're right in some instances. Some choices in Telltale games are there just as flavor and don't really change anything if you look at it from a bird's eye view. Some are significant, but those are more so, the major plot points of the game, which can really turn around episodes, as Telltale decided to call them.
Yeah, but it still gives you a more personal experience because you can be a nice guy, you can be an asshole. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on how you want to play it, even though maybe on the grand scheme of things doesn't change anything. But
Mm-hmm.
at least you know that you didn't make the NPCs feelings hurt. So that's good.
And that, I totally agree with that. Then, if anyone, if you guys listening are feeling the same, please put that in the comments. I think it's a sign of a really really awesome game when you don't want to hurt the feelings of the NPC, because that means the character has been written right. And to me, that's such a big reason of why I play games. I'm going through Baldur's Gate at the moment, and the characters are so believable, and they're just so alive that I don't even want to be a mean guy and just, I don't know, get like a get a reply that makes me go, oh no, please, no, wait, I did not mean that, I take it back, reload. uh,
Yeah, that's true. I do that in most of the games. I don't know why. I never like to be an asshole.
I mean, me neither. I was listening to Mark Meir back in the day. For anyone who doesn't know, he's the voice actor of Commander Shepard of male Commander Shepard from Mass Effect series. And he said that he always plays games twice. One time he's the asshole, and then the other playthrough feels like he's redeeming himself. I don't think I could go through a full asshole playthrough.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know why. At the end of the day, it won't change anything because I'm playing a game, but I still don't want to be rude to any other characters because there are games in which you have the companions or
Mm-hmm.
side characters that you interact with, and most of the times they are very memorable. And if I would be mean to them, I would feel bad once I remember the game. Like, oh yeah, oh no, what did I do?
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it's especially because we play games as a hobby, as something we do in our free time, as something that we do to enjoy ourselves. I don't really enjoy myself by being the mean guy, but if that's you, dear listener, that's all right. I mean, you can also play games just for the heck of it and see,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
just see how things pan out. Like I would play this MMO back in the day called Star Wars Galaxies, and in there I also had the Sith character. For anyone who's not familiar with Star Wars, they're like the bad guys of Star Wars, but it's more complicated than that. Let's just say
The
they're the
evil
bad guys.
space wizards.
Sorry. Oh yeah,
The evil space wizards.
evil space. I think evil is also debatable, but we should talk about that for one of our episodes. Just talk
Hmm.
about the Sith and the Jedi philosophy from Star Wars.
Yeah, because we want to have the podcast that will reach other topics, not just
Mm-hmm.
gaming. There's geek stuff in general, but we start with gaming as that is the foundation
Yeah.
of how we got into the whole geek sphere as a whole.
The Geek Sphere, I love that. The Geek Sphere. We have to put that on a banner, I think, for our channel. The Geek Sphere, the Geek Talk, everything about the Geek Sphere.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah. You know what? Why not?
that's the slogan of our channel now.
That
And
was
we
so easy.
and we can't even forget it because it's recorded. This is how amazing minds work. Things just happen.
Yeah, because I honestly forgot it already, to be honest.
Me too. But it's recorded. It's fine.
Yeah, it's something about the geek sphere, but
Yeah, something about the Geek Sphere. And yeah, just like Tax said, it's Geek Talk. Gaming is what brought us together and got us interested in everything else. But then there's so much everything else. There's comic books. There's anime. There's
Mm. And gaming in a way can have its branches in all of these other topics because there are superhero games, there are anime games, there are games based on books, how The Witcher was, and so on.
mhm.
So it reaches far and wide, and that's one of the reasons why we start with this
Yeah, yeah.
because um, recently as well, Akira Toriyama passed away,
True.
as you guys probably know already, and he was an influential person both in the anime industry and in the gaming industry.
hmm I
And
go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, no, please.
And I just wanted to add that one of the reasons why we got into gaming as well is probably because of him, maybe without even knowing it. I know that he helped make Chrono Trigger and Dragon Quest, I think. Those
All
were
right.
games a bit before our time.
Yeah, we're not we're not quite there yet. But I in case anyone isn't familiar, he's the creator of Dragon Balls.
Yeah, Dragon Ball. Yeah, yeah,
Dragon Ball,
exactly.
Dragon Ball.
Not Dragon Balls, man. Come on.
Ruined the whole mood. Oh yeah, he
That's
made Dragon
different.
Balls. All
Okay.
7 of them. No, wait, there's 9.
That must be one weird ass dragon then. Yeah, but he did great. I mean, his most popular creation was indeed Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
hmm
Uh, and I grew up watching it, and to be honest, one of the first memorable games of my childhood was Naruto
Mm.
Ultimate Ninja, I think it
Yep.
was. And the whole existence of Naruto or One Piece, for example, couldn't have been without uh, Toriyama Sensei
hmm
because he was the inspiration and allowed other creators to have the courage to pursue their dreams.
For sure. And there was even statements from Masashi Kishimoto who made Naruto, and then oh, I forget the other guy's name.
Ah,
Sadly.
yes, Eiichiro Oda.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, they both put out some really heartfelt statements about this whole situation, and it shows just how much geek stuff can bring people together. Because at the end of the day, us geeks, the really committed ones, are more so outcasts of society or misfits. That's pretty much how this whole thing started, in my opinion, right? Just people trying to find something else than more usual hobbies to pursue. And then I think because of that, because we know this feeling of not completely being accepted for who we are, or not really sharing interests that were more prevalent around us, we're even more so welcoming as a community, and even more so friendlier to others. Not all. I mean, you go into an online game, you're gonna say I'm wrong, but,
No. Oh boy.
but I would say to that, don't judge gaming and just the geek culture based on online gaming, because that's like its own subculture of competitiveness, and when people get really competitive they tend to get angry. So
Yeah, yes. That goes for any activity, to be honest. If you play it at a higher level, doesn't matter if it's conventional sports,
mm,
esports, or just competitive gaming, there will be some salt involved.
yeah, it just occurs to me that we, the two of us, think that the listeners of this podcast will just be people kind of around our age or maybe younger than us, just interested in games, and they you want a space to engage with these topics and talk about this. But it occurs to me now that we might also have people with children in our audience trying to understand why they like gaming. And to that, I would say, if you are a parent who maybe sees that their kid is spending too much time in an MMO or getting angry at their screen, try to have an understanding approach to that and kind of talk to them and see what goes on through their heads, because for Tag and I, we've both been really mad playing video games before, right? And it's because we care, and we want to be good at them. And
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. It's very easy to feel emotional if you put effort into something. It doesn't matter if it's a game or a hobby or even your job. Of course, if you put in the work and you put your heart out into it, you pour it,
mm,
you will have an emotional reaction if things don't go as you planned. It's completely normal. And if you are a parent, as Odi says, try to check what your kid is doing. Maybe try to get into the games that he's into. It's also important
mm-hmm.
because online gaming, especially nowadays, can be a scary place for, especially for
Oh yeah,
kids.
totally. I mean, it could have been dangerous when we were kids too, because some people would ask for your address or your name or just data they could identify, information they could identify you with. But with today's capabilities, for sure, it's actually advised to be involved in your child's life and see what they're doing online and who they're hanging out with.
Yeah, exactly. And you never know. Maybe you develop a hobby in
Yeah,
gaming and you can enjoy it together with your kid.
I
Doesn't
just
matter what age they are.
I just remembered, you just unlocked a memory I didn't forget about, but which I hadn't thought of in a minute. I think another huge game for me growing up was Heroes of Might and Magic, the third one to be specific. Shout out to everyone who loves Heroes of Might and Magic 3, because that game slaps. And I must have been something like 10 years old, 11 years old, something like that. It was a rainy day. I just have this very vivid memory. I was playing.
Core memory.
Yeah, just this core memories playing. And my parents, my mother especially, she was cooking um, some food that you generally make in a really huge bowl over a fire pit. And she was doing this in the garden because we were going to have guests over. And it started raining while she was doing this. And she took it off the fire pit for a bit and came in to check on me. And she just stayed there with me for an hour or so as the rain stopped. I was playing Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and she kept asking me questions like, "Hey, what are you playing? What are those units?" Well, she didn't say units. She must have said like, "What's that fire thing?" But she was really interested in what I was doing. And when you get into gaming, I feel it's so important to have someone go through that journey with you, or at least give you that support, because I remember playing Heroes of Might and Magic 3 with my mother too. We would share the keyboard. Like we just take turns with the same keyboard, and I'll teach her how to play, obviously. But that kind of support really made me way more comfortable in me liking video games and pursuing them forward, because as we mentioned at the beginning, gaming wasn't really something to be proud of when we were growing up.
Well, yes, especially like early 2000s in the Balkans, playing video games, it was not necessarily seen as a good thing.
Mm,
Probably isn't to this day, especially if you like to play for multiple hours, but that's fine. Not everybody has to understand. But as you say, Odi, it's important to have somebody to support you.
completely. And that could be, your friends, your family, your partner. And even if they don't specifically love games as much as you do, or maybe they don't love games at all, but they still show you that support for you pursuing what you love doing. I think that's what was very important. If you can enjoy the same things, jackpot. You won. Nice, you won life. But that's not always as easy as it could be. But you actually just gave me an idea, but I forget now. However, I'm looking at the time here, and we're drawing close to 1 hour, and I think we should maybe wrap it up a bit so that we don't take too much of the time of our listeners. And then the way we're gonna plan this is about one episode per week. Can we commit to that? Let's say ish, roughly.
Yeah, yeah, we would like one episode a week. As Odi said in the beginning of the episode, we have full-time jobs, so throughout
Yeah,
the week it's a bit difficult. But we want to make some time for this
mm,
because we want to put it out there,
exactly.
see if anybody wants to listen to us talk and sometimes maybe bicker about certain topics.
Of course.
This is the light version because sometimes we have strong opinions about certain things
Oh,
and we
just
don't
wait.
always see eye to eye.
Just wait until we're gonna speak about The Last of Us 2. That's gonna be nice. That's gonna be wild.
Oh, yes. But we have to keep that for a bit later.
Yeah, we're just putting our best selves forward right now, as this is
Yeah,
the
the very articulate, gentleman-like
the
side.
family friendly version of the channel.
Absolutely. We do not want to piss off the YouTube overlords either. So this is
Exactly.
very PG-13.
Yeah, and I think that's essentially where our audience might start from. Everyone who's above their teen year, at or above their teen years. And speaking of teen years, I was thinking we could maybe end with this. I don't think we completely covered how the two of us met and why we're doing this. And you said a bit, we said a bit, but we met in fifth grade, and we bonded over video games. And why people, I think that's another main reason why people like and get into video games, because it's something that can be shared. And the first, I think it was the first thing we played together was Naruto Ultimate Ninja 2 on the PS2 at your place. And when in the smaller separate room from the
Mm-hmm,
from the main
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
apartment, and I, I remember coming over, and you were putting up the PS2. I think it was it was spring-ish. It was like warmer weather outside. I have this specific, I don't know, I tend to have specific memories of core memories. I remember specific details because it was pretty warm in the room, and we put it up the console, and then the game was on, and I remember thinking, oh no, this game does not look engaging. What have I done? Why am I here? And
Yeah, yeah.
I think that passed in like 5 minutes as we started playing. But you look at the game like Naruto, and there was no, well, I mean, there's a story to it, obviously, but it's just the anime story. And Naruto was hugely popular in our country, by the way, for our generation. Even if you didn't live and breathe Naruto, people knew what it was.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You had like the stickers that you would buy and all kinds of stuff. It was incredibly huge. But
Yeah.
strangely enough, even if it was a big deal, especially for kids growing up,
Hmm.
it it was still sort of weird for you to watch it. Like, oh, you
Yeah.
watch anime? Hmm.
Yeah, even
No.
even when you would talk with classmates or friends about it, you still had this sensation that we shouldn't like this, I guess, but it's pretty cool. It's
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And it was on TV, like
hmm
prime time and everything.
yeah,
But it
that
was only the beginning, I think.
yeah, like at like 8 p.m. So that was like again peak hours to just put something on TV. And not the game Ultimate Ninja. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a fighting game. It's an anime fighting game, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another reason people really love geeky stuff in that aspect of you just want to see cool stuff happen on screen, just flashy colors, awesome things. And we really need to talk about Naruto as its own separate thing because it is its own separate thing because it's not saying that Naruto is flashy colors is making it a huge disservice. Naruto, to me at least, has been a very important, has been filled with important life lessons, honestly. But at the time, it was just yeah, just a fun beat 'em up to have to share between the two of us. And I think that's the first day when our friendship really started to develop from playing Ultimate Ninja 2.
Yeah, it was Ultimate Ninja 2. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
on that PS2 you got from your uncle, I think, was it?
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
One of those. If I know, I had for a period of time the slim version of the PS2, but that was just temporarily at my
Mm.
place. But my normal console was the beefy boy,
The beefy boy.
the chunky.
I only got into PlayStations with the PS3, and I got that directly the slim version because it was
Hmm.
available already. And I also had the slim version of the PS4. And then now I don't even know if there is a slim PS5 at
Yep,
all.
yep.
There is? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It came out recently.
No, all right. But yeah, I just got the normal edition, and I remember thinking, when did they make PlayStations this huge? What happened? And then I just looked back and like, oh, I just had the slim edition always. I see.
To be honest with you, the PS5 Slim it's not that slim. I mean, it's smaller, yes, but compared to how I remember the PS2 was a big boy, but
Hmm.
the Slim version it was like an envelope.
Yeah, they really packed it up in there. They
So back then, it they could do it. Nowadays, probably with new technologies and everything, it's harder to cram that much power into a tight space.
possibly also, nowadays gaming's cool. Gaming's and well, I would say gaming is a normal hobby to have nowadays.
Yeah, it's definitely mainstream, more a
Yeah,
lot more mainstream than it used to be, because you have like the whole esports, which could be just an
sure.
episode on its own. It's become hugely popular. I think a lot thanks to Riot because of their production value of their
Yeah,
events and huge venues and so on. But you also have the Counter Strike tournaments, Valorant now. People make money out of it. Like it's an actual job.
yeah.
When
I
we
mean,
were starting in high school, when we were playing League of Legends, I know that that's roughly when the league esports scene started to ramp up,
hmm
but it was
hmm
still a dream for most of kids that were playing to become a professional player. It still could be, and it still is, I think, to this day, a dream for some kids that are playing. But it's a lot more accessible. It's more accepted, I think.
for sure. And maybe this is just exaggeration on my part to say that maybe that's why the PS5 is big because you want people to see it. It's a normal thing now, and well, when it launched, it was kind of a status of wealth too. So nowadays, gaming is expensive. It's not no. It's I mean, I guess it always was expensive, but more so
I
now.
think so. Yeah. I mean, uh, growing in the Balkans, the thing was like the early days of gaming. back with the I don't know, Super Nintendo or those OG consoles, the Atari. They didn't come here um, because we were still pretty closed off
Mm-hmm.
where we live. But once the borders expanded, it they really expanded, and we took a lot of the Western culture quite easily,
Oh yeah.
and things became a lot more accessible. But again, this is more like the PlayStation 1 era going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Things from before, they were also difficult to get by. Like even the old cassette console that I had. Again, I don't remember if it was Nintendo or not. You had to go to like a market, and it was brought from somewhere else. It wasn't like you go to the electronics store, you pick up
Yeah.
your console. No, it was like uh, I wouldn't say black market because it was not black market, but it was just going outside with lots of people and everybody with their like desk full of electronics and stuff that people did not see until that moment, like the Walkman or the first MP3 players, stuff like that. It was crazy, or VHS tapes and so
Oh
on.
man, VHS.
Eh,
You remind me of all the VHS Disney movies I used to watch.
exactly, me too. I had so many of those.
Yeah, me too. I still have them. I still have them in my childhood room. I still have all of those things like Mulan and Bambi
And
and
everything was aftermarket. I don't think
oh yeah, for
any of them were
sure.
purchased from a store per
Oh no,
se.
no, no. They were yeah, like you said, it wasn't black market. It was they were resellers who had them from I don't know where, and they just sold them here at like open markets.
Yeah, exactly. So it was difficult before that, but after that, as long as you had the money, which granted, it wasn't necessarily easy to spend certain amounts of money on these things that were considered more or less a luxury item or luxury
Mm,
items.
for sure.
So, but after that, as I said, it really exploded, and you could find all kinds of things. Also, the less legal side of things, I guess, was really fruitful around here. I mean,
Yeah, it was.
if you didn't have a somebody that you knew that had a jailbroken PS2, it was basically impossible. If you had a PlayStation 2, you had it jailbroken.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of one of the criterion for you getting a PlayStation as a kid. You were not gonna be buying games because I mean, how expensive would games? How expensive were games back then? Was it still $60 in the two
I
thousands? Don't know.
I don't know, to be honest,
I don't
because
either.
I don't think uh I had a few games that I purchased from stores. Very few because again it was incredibly expensive for my parents, and they didn't see gaming as an activity that they wanted me to do.
Mm.
So I would usually go to my uncle, and he had a jailbroken PS2, and we played games like that.
Yeah, and
When
just sorry, go ahead.
and that was the normal here.
Mm. It was,
So
and just for our listeners, let's clarify that we do not advocate for
oh,
doing
absolutely
this,
not.
right?
No,
Because I mean, even if we were active, let's say in that zone of activity, it was out of necessity. And if, as we kept saying until now, we really love games, and you should support the people making those games. Even if
yes,
even if you don't live and breathe gaming, you just do it as some way to pass time. Well, someone still worked a lot on that product for you to enjoy it. And for example, I'll tell you what I did was when I got my full time job, I went back 20 years and I made a list of all the things I was going to be purchasing, and I did gradually, but I purchased everything that I had played because if we don't support devs, we're not going to have anything to play anymore, and that would just be extremely sad.
totally. Just like you say, and it's important to support the developers of the games that you love,
Mm,
because indeed they put in the effort, and sometimes many hours, or
Oh yeah,
working
and
overtime
yep,
and crunch and so on. So
and
at the end of the day, you can make the argument maybe that you're not helping the devs, you're helping the company that made the game. But if you do not give the company the money for their product, as of now at 2024, there have been so many layoffs in the gaming industry
yeah,
that's becoming scary.
it is. And you look, you combine the last year with how many there already were this year, and it's really concerning for the future. And you see projects being canceled, studios being closed, and it makes sense because people generally have less money nowadays, and I don't think there's a point to make this podcast into an economics podcast. But we're all aware that this is happening, and sadly, it checks out why studios are being closed, because it's really just not that feasible to spend $60 to $70 on a game now. But if we want new games to keep being on the market, it's up to us to support them. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I guess TLDR, if you like a game, support the developers
Yeah,
and support good practices in gaming.
absolutely, absolutely. So don't spend your money on Suicide Squad. And I'm just gonna throw that grenade in there and not gonna talk about it right now.
Oh, that was unexpected. You just threw a curveball, and we're about to end the episode. So
Now,
I guess
spend your money on what you want. Hey, like what games you want.
exactly. Even if you like Suicide Squad or whatever game that
Absolutely.
somebody says that, oh, you shouldn't like that because that game is like this. Just just don't listen. Enjoy what you enjoy.
Oh yeah,
Nobody can tell you what to enjoy or how to enjoy it. As long as you're not
exactly.
hurting anybody and you're having fun, who cares?
Absolutely. You like a specific type of game or genre, spend your money on that. Just show the devs you want more, and then that way they can make more. If that's what you love, you do you. As we said at the beginning of the podcast, the whole idea of being a geek, of liking gaming, of liking comics, of liking anime, is that we're the weirdos. And you gotta love that about yourself. And why you got into gaming, whatever the reason might be, we hope you keep staying into gaming.
Yes, absolutely. We hope you enjoyed our ranting about gaming today. It's been an amazing feeling to start this
Hmm.
and have this talk, and we hope that you enjoy it. If you do, like the video, maybe subscribe to our channel. We want to post one video a week, so one episode of the podcast a week. We're going to focus on different topics. This was more of an introduction,
Hmm.
as Odi was saying, but we hope that you enjoy it and hopefully see you back next time.
For sure. Have a great day, everyone. See ya.
See ya.